You know what's crazy to me is the same group of people who are screaming, get off welfare, get off unemployment, you're so lazy, are the same people that are saying, get back to the office, get back to work.
Restaurants across Mississippi are shutting down because nobody's working for them.
What's up, financial hawks? So in today's video, we're going to be going over low wages and hard to find job TikToks. Let's get in.
People are violently angry with me right now because I posted a video last night talking down on Mississippi, specifically how restaurants all over the state are shutting down because they can't find any workers because they're paying $2.13 an hour. The Mississippi natives are mad at me for posting that video. In fact, I've deleted a lot of racist and hateful comments already. I actually think you don't understand. I've been getting no caller IDs ever since I woke up this morning. Like, that was 30 seconds ago. There's a reason why this is happening. I'm already kicked out of 3 Facebook groups as of this morning. Why do you think they're doing that? Don't worry, all my burner accounts are still in though. Now they're gonna be really mad when I tell y'all the actual tea about Mississippi. Y'all don't worry about me, by the way. I got people. And by people, I mean a word I can't say on TikTok. I'm just gonna get started and hope y'all can hear me through the calls because they're not stopping me. There's obviously a reason why people here are only getting paid $7.25 an hour. And then when workers and jobs have to pay the minimum wage, which is $7.25, I don't know if you knew that, they pay that. And the reason is racism. They're gonna be at my window tonight, y'all. Think about it. Mississippi has been the last historically to receive a lot of things. As you might know, Mississippi was the last state during the Civil War to abolish slavery. But no, they didn't abolish slavery during the Civil War. No, they didn't abolish slavery during the 1900s. No, they didn't abolish slavery during the 2000s. February 7th, 2013. 2013, One Direction was out there performing songs, and slavery was abolished in Mississippi. Now, they technically abolished it in 1995, but think about it, your parents were probably adults in 1995. Does that make it that much better? But they conveniently didn't submit any documentation. They didn't have any official proceedings to make those documents official. $2.13 an hour is not the lowest wage in the state, by the way. It gets lower. It gets under $1. Do you want me to talk about that? Now, the correlation between what I just told you and the fact that people are paid $2.13 an hour and less. People from Mississippi that are stuck in Mississippi's ways are going to say that there is no correlation. People who live here and have a little bit of common sense, or people that live anywhere else, are going to say there's an indirect correlation. People who are tapped in are going to know that there's a direct straight line correlation between that not being abolished and the wages being low. And that's all I have to say right now.
All right, now this one was a pretty good one. One of the first things that caught me off was the maximum minimum wage. Talking about, I think this is said for Mississippi is like $7.25, I want to say, or around there. And I guess that's the wage that they're trying to actually get for, but like a lot of these different like jobs, or maybe more like serving food or whatnot, or like way lower, which is crazy and kind of sad. But like one of the biggest points I kind of got from this, you know, outside of like the craziness with the whole like slavery, you know, being abolished like later on, like technically or non-technically or whatnot, is with like low wages, and when you're like in like lower like impoverished areas, being able to leave can help you out so much. And unfortunately, not everybody is able to leave, which sucks. For the people who are able to, you know, maybe like Mississippi, Louisiana, or whatnot, being able to, you know, maybe pack up your bags and go to another spot can definitely help out a lot. Getting into tech can help out a lot too, just for the fact that you can work remotely. So if you're able to grind, you know, or while you're still in school, hopefully, being able to grind, work on like certifications, your skill set there, and try to get a remote job somewhere else where you're able to get paid a whole lot more, and you're still able to stay in like a lower economic area, you can start stacking up a lot. You can start stacking up a lot. And I think that can help out a lot of different people. I think I haven't seen the part 1 of this small town gossip, but I'm assuming, kind of from what I'm hearing, these kind of more like day-to-day workers, like not tech workers, but people who are like having to serve food and maybe other things like, you know, that nature. And yes, I want to just be straight up with you, it's probably going to be even more harder for a lot of people. Again, inflation increasing constantly, and it seems like wages are kind of just going down, like they're not staying up to par. And yeah, maybe I can do like a deep dive from maybe people from Mississippi talking about this, maybe from like Louisiana there'll be other states that are very lower on the economic scale. But yeah, if you are able to, you know, grind out, you know, your certifications or something on tech. I got like a lot of tech videos on this channel. Try to get like something that you can do online or something that you can work like remote. So again, you're not stuck on just the jobs that are in your current area, and you're stuck in that same type of impoverished income set. You know, you can work for a company like in California and you can pay California money in Mississippi, which is like a whole, whole different ball game right there.
I just interviewed for at the end told me they pay $45K. The way I was holding back tears.
Companies want everything to go back to the way they were in 2019. And right now, what they're doing after these layoffs is lowering salaries back to around what they were around then. For some quick background, I work in the creative space. I'm a production artist, which is just a fancy way of saying I do photo and video for a living. So all my takes are based on, that information, or that industry rather. A few months back, because we're always looking for a better paying job, right? I noticed that the salaries were just not lining up, and it was just as bad when recruiters were reaching out. And typically when they reach out, they're looking to fold and close immediately to get you to sign up so they get paid. And it was at that point that I turned my side gig, which is just work I would do to buy equipment I did not need, into a more sustainable, potentially full-time position, which, because of the layoffs we went through a few weeks back at the company I used to work for, that positioned me much better than most others, unfortunately. And it's not just that the companies want to pay you less, they want you to do more. So for an example for this is that photographer positions now require people for some reason to know Premiere or Resolve along with After Effects. And that is not a photographer position at that point when they want you to do videos. That is a production artist, and they're not willing to pay what it costs to pay a production artist to have on staff. Another example is graphic design roles. Suddenly every graphic designer has to also be a video editor, and those are two fields that don't really have any overlap outside of the occasional After Effects dabbling. And even then, both use the program very differently. Now, everyone has the ability to do their jobs because you've been doing your job for ages, but what everyone doesn't have is the ability to market themselves and sales skills, and those are the things that we really have to start focusing on. You might see a contractor position open that looks like it pays well, like, oh, this would be great because you do the salary conversion, but you have to factor in that you have to pay your own taxes, pay your own healthcare, and they're essentially just looking to undercut everyone in every way possible, including by just having contractors, especially if you have mandatory hours, by the way, that is illegal in most states. But by having those contractors working without having them on, for benefits or anything like that. And that's perfectly fine, but we have to kind of do a little price fixing of our own and just raise our rates. And that's that, and advise maybe younger people that cheap work always leads to cheap work and free work always leads to nothing unless it becomes like a passion project, which very rare exceptions. We can talk about that in another video. I think I'm going to start posting a lot of these positions and commenting on why they're trash, because they are very predatory in this environment. And a lot of people who do a lot of good work are just being taken advantage of. In New York, I'm seeing design positions at big firms being like $40,000. It makes absolutely no sense for any company to be paying that. Basically, if a job can't pay you enough for you to live comfortably near where you have to go, then it simply does not pay enough. Remote, kind of iffy, but then a lot of places say remote, but you have to be located in this region. That's not remote, that's telecommute. And I want to reiterate that they're trying to see what they can get away with right now. I know this has been a theme in a couple of videos between ragging on Corpse and talking about Palestine right now. These companies are really trying to take advantage of everyone, and not enough attention is being put on that. But yeah, I think I'm going to start doing a little bit of that directly, because they're putting this information out there for all to see, and it deserves to be criticized. And I would encourage others to do the same. If you see a crappy job listing, send it my way, please.
Yeah, now this one is wild, but yeah, it's something that a lot of people have been noticing. Like, you're applying for some type of position, but they're kind of wanting you to do other job positions or tasks as well on your job, and then not paying you that amount. Like, they're paying you less, so it's like you're doing way more work but you're getting paid less. I have been seeing that a lot when I was applying to different jobs, and even when I was applying to some of these video editing ones, I was kind of seeing that too. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Like they kind of want you to know Photoshop and all these others, all the other like software. Now, thankfully, at least for myself, when I'm looking at some of these, I'm like, okay, I know like the whole Adobe suite. I can use Premiere Pro, I can use Photoshop. After Effects, I'm iffy, but I can like use it if I need to. The Adobe animation, there's a whole lot of other Adobe things that I've had the time to do like on the side, because you know, I like making YouTube videos. I'm like, you know, doing stuff creatively for you guys. But yeah, like if your passion or your whole mindset or whole goal is to be a photographer, why are you needing to now learn how to do video editing, you know, or After Effects, you know, inside your video editing? Like, yeah, a lot of these jobs are requiring more and more and paying less and less, and inflation is getting higher and higher. So I definitely understand everybody gripes. Yeah, it sucks. It definitely sucks. If you get to, you know, that type of position where you have to take that job, I would take it temporarily until you can get something better. Start working like, you know, creating content for maybe YouTube, or you know, if like you're more for creative, or so try to find something that you can do like with your hands. Maybe you have a truck, you could do, you know, like removing trash or people's spots. You can use that truck to put like a lawnmower on there, so you can like cut yards, kind of just do more hands-on things. I'm trying to think of some other, you know, things you can do, like washing cars and whatnot. Like there's a lot of different things you can do like with your hands. But yeah, man, it definitely sucks. Again, I understand everybody gripes on that. It seems like it's not going to get better. It seems like it's going to continue to get worse. They're going to require you to have like a laundry list of abilities, but only paying you as if you only have like 1 or 2 abilities. And again, on top of all of this, it's not like inflation is staying the same. Inflation is constantly increasing, so you're gonna have to really grind out these next few years. I'm definitely seeing that. And you know, this is election year too, so I can just imagine how it's going to be like by the end of the year or by next year. But yeah, it's definitely wild out here.
You are not just imagining things, salaries are coming back down. And this is way more complicated than a simple supply and demand situation. So during the Great Resignation, employers started paying more because employees had all of the leverage. But now through layoffs and return to office mandates, employers now have that leverage. And 48% had agreed that they lowered pay for certain roles. Back in 2022, the year-over-year wage growth was 9.3%, and now it is down to 3.6%. Now, this is where some people will say that this is supply and demand and to get over it, but the thing about supply and demand is that it does not take into consideration human emotion. We also need to consider equity theory, where as people, we feel that the outputs we receive should be equal or more than the inputs we give. So in 2022, wages were higher and remote work was available more, so that was driving down their costs. And then in 2023, we start to see layoffs, wage cuts, return to office mandates. But the work that they were doing did not change. So now this side is dropping while the other side stays exactly the same. And this inequity causes employees to feel incredibly disengaged, which costs businesses $8.8 trillion a year. So I think as both consumers and employees, let's just keep in mind the businesses that continue to treat their employees well, even in an employer market.
Yeah, this is another wild thing, but yeah, salaries are falling, and the actual cost of housing, food, etc. has not gone down. It's continually rising up. So it's like you got your salaries going down, you got the food and everything else increasing, and now it's super hard to get a job. It's just wild out here. So I'm glad more people kind of talking about this. But yeah, kind of is like supply and demand in a sense, but now is way more on the employer side, as you guys could probably see now if you're applying to jobs right now. Again, I applied to a ton to get my current position, which I, like years prior, I didn't have to at all, maybe like 10, and I'm already in a job. Now it's like hundreds or not 1,000 plus to get something. And again, like you're talking about too, or like they were kind of talking about in the previous clips, they want more. So it's like they are decreasing the salaries everywhere, but yet wanting you to do more, and everything else is also increasing. So I understand why people are in a lot of different stress right now. because everything is definitely resetting, or at least the salaries are resetting. Everything else is increasing. Housing, everybody talking about, oh, it should be a house crash. Like, they were saying that, like, what, 6-7 months ago when I was like, still making videos. Oh yeah, about to be a house crash, about to be a house crash. Month go by, house crash, 2 months go by, house crash coming soon, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year. Everything's not crashing. It might go down maybe a little bit, but it's not definitely crashing like some of these naysayers are saying. And even again with food, housing, etc. I mean, food, like, and other stuff like that, that's not decreasing too. Even the average car has increased. Used cars have increased by a ton. I'm going to do like a second part talking about cars. Usually people talking about, you know, buying a used car versus a new one if you're trying to like save money and whatnot. But you will see used cars selling more for new cars now, man. It's just, but I'm definitely curious to kind of see what some of the other TikTok people and some of you guys are thinking too. Let me know in the comment section below. I definitely would love to hear your thoughts.